The reality here is that you have a lot of choices when you're trying to think about getting a personal loan, especially if you want to get a large personal loan, right? But the thing is, if you have low income, or let's say you have unsteady work, like you have a part time job, and you're just trying to struggling to make ends meet, things become complicated. So in today's conversation, I want to give you a few hacks that will help you get pre-approved for a loan. Okay, pre-approval. This is important because you want to preserve your FICO score. Don't let anybody razzle dazzle you telling you, hey, listen, you can apply for this loan, blah, 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 blah. No. Whenever you have the opportunity, you always want to seek pre approval. Okay. So when we talk about personal loans, we're talking about two types of loans, of course. So you have unsecured loans and you also have secure loans. The thing is, when you're looking for, let's say, if you have unsteady work or you have low income, sometimes if you have an asset that you can pledge to get a secure loan, that's a lot easier. A lot of folks don't want to do that because they don't know that it's actually very easy to get a loan if you can collateralize it. I mean, if you have a piece of equipment at home or you have a car, you have a fully paid car, you can actually collateralize the car to get the loan, right? Because the whole thing is you just need to have the cash anyway. So any strategy you can actually come up with will really help you out. So when we talk about pre-approval, if you have collateral that you can pledge for the loan, you can be pre-approved real fast. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. I really appreciate having you here. And in today's conversation, I'm quickly talking to you about large personal loan pre-approval hacks if you have low income or unsteady work. Okay, how do you make the whole thing happen real fast? So don't forget about things like the interest charges, because I don't want you to fall all those to fall for those predators, those predatory lenders. Like, they know you need cash real fast, and they'll just give you those sort of crazily high APR. Don't do that. When we're talking about you having low income or unsteady work, please, I want you to stay away from those scammers, okay? And the whole thing here is that you want to go for those traditional lenders. You want to start with your credit union. You want to start with your bank, your local bank, not the national bank. The national bank, they don't really care about your ass anyway because, they're big. They're too big. But if you go local, you actually reach out to like a local bank, a county bank, or whatever. They actually will take care of you. And same thing for now. Let me give you a few pro tips here in terms of you trying to really get pre-approved for, let's say, a large personal loan if you have low income. See, by low income, I'm talking about like $500 a month or $500 like every 2 weeks. That's kind of low. I don't care where you live in the country. $500 a month, that's like really, really, really hard. So, or if you have unsteady work, you have to really struggle all the time. I'm giving you the tips that you need to really implement right now. The first thing you have to do is you got to find a way to compare loan costs. As I said before, sometimes when you're desperate for a loan, you actually tend to fall prey. That's not just you. It has always happened this way. For the last 40 years, 50 years that we have been studying this market, you have a lot of folks who actually fall prey to those scam artists, scam artists. And so you got to be in a situation where you are able to compare a loan cost. By loan cost, I'm talking about the interest rate, of course. Yeah, you know about the interest rate, but you got to also think about the admin charges. You have a constellation of fees. You have origination fees. You have admin fees. Sometimes they charge you something called file fees, whatever. I mean, it's just crazy. But you got to be in a situation where you can compare loan fees to make sure, hey, listen, is this really in my advantage? Like, I know I need cash real fast because I need to put some food on the table for the children because the whole family has to eat. But hey, listen, at what cost? That's my question to you. At what cost? I mean, so you got to really learn to compare loan costs before you actually sign anything. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about large personal loans pre-approval hacks. Okay, if you have a low income or unsteady work, you want to reflexively, you want to automatically seek pre-approval. Don't go for a loan right away because your FICO score will suffer, right? Anytime you get denied, you lose 5 to 10 points off your FICO score. That's pretty bad. So the goal here is to actually limit the number of times that you actually get denied. Okay, and so that's why you want to first go for a pre-approval. If it doesn't work, then you have the option to actually go for the direct approval. Direct approval means what? They're doing a hard pull right away. Pre-approval, they're doing a soft pull. That's the only difference. One thing I want to really think about also is that when we talk about personal loans, if you are, let's say you have low income, right? You have low income or you have unsteady work, like maybe Monday IKEA calls you, the next day you have Uber, then you probably have like I don't know, you probably have Walgreens, and then you have Costco, whatever it is. I mean, you have an unsteady work program. So if you, the thing is, when we talk about personal loans in this context, personal loans can have a lot of names, right? You have like a wedding loan. Let's say you just trying to really tie the knots with your sweetheart, then you might want to go for a wedding loan. Sometimes you get a funeral loan. I mean, I don't know why I'm just talking about funeral right after a wedding, but it is what it is. But you want to think about, so you have medical loans, you have moving loans, yeah. So you have a constellation of loans, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is that when we talk about personal loans, it's not just because you're looking for cash to put food on the table for your children. It's not just you trying to seek extra cash to buy groceries. You can actually seek extra cash to improve your basement, like home improvement loans. So sometimes instead of applying for a generic name for your loan, just go for that specific loan. What I'm trying to say here is that instead of applying for a loan, a personal loan to take care of home improvement, just go to the bank and see the bank has specifically a home improvement loan, because sometimes the approval conditions are different, okay, than actually trying to get a generic loan. That's also is really important, because you are gradually going to increase your chances of being approved whenever you apply for a loan, and that's the goal, right? The goal here is to make sure that you are in a situation where you can constantly be approved whenever you apply for a loan. And we got to begin in that situation, boss, son, daughter, and uncle. I'm just talking to you, and I want you to look at your budget right now, and you want to see exactly what do you need the loan for. What are you going to use the proceeds of the loan for? Okay, so the use of loan proceeds, are you going to just spend the cash on general purposes, like trying to live, trying to buy food or other stuff, or are you looking for a specific type of expense that you are going to allocate the funds to? Talking about allocating funds, it's important to understand that if you are looking for a pre-approval for a loan, and you are trying to go for the loan that has the lowest cost, you always have to know exactly how you plan to use the loan, use the loan. And there is a correlated sort of factor, which is how much you need, right? So let's say you need $10,000 and you plan to use the 10 grand or on home improvement. Okay, then we are really clear here. Okay, and it's very important, again, when you try to have when you think about planning to use the loans, remember that you have to seek that cash from multiple avenues. Okay, personal loans, pre-approval hacks. You can actually be pre-approved when you actually reach out to an online lender, a fintech lender. You can be pre-approved if you just reach out to a cash app. You can be pre-approved if you reached out to an alternative lender. You can be pre-approved if you reach out to a credit union. You can be pre-approved if you reach out to a traditional bank. When we talk about traditional bank, there are layers in the banking system in the United States. So you have at the top, you have tier one, what we call the financial behemoths, right? So you have the Chase of the world, the Wells Fargo. You have also the Bank of America. You also have there's a fourth one, Citi, right? So you have those are the four biggies. Then you have in the middle, you have those what we call mid-tier players. I'm seeking to hear about PNC, Truist, US Bank, BMO, TD. We have Fifth Third, right? So you have a constellation of players in the middle, and then at the bottom you have those state players. You have the savings and loans. You have the state banks, and so the bottom line here is that when you think about getting the funds to use for specific purposes, always you want to go local first. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. I'm still sharing with you pre-approval hacks. If you have low income or unsteady work, how do you actually get pre-approved for a large personal loan? Okay, and you always have to go through the source, follow the money, and you want to go with a lender with whom you have a greater relationship. Because if you have low income or unsteady work, you want to really parlay an existing great relationship into being approved for the loan that you need. Okay. let me give you a winner here. So it's really important to understand that if you have low income and you have, let's say, low income or unsteady work, you've got a lot of other stuff going on for you, right? I don't want you to become desperate and say, everything is doomed now. I'm a failure, blah, 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 blah. If you're thinking that way right now, I want you to really, really stop that. Stop that. All right? I want you to stop that thoughts right there. I'm killing it in your mind right there. Okay? Because the whole thing is you have a lot of other folks, you have a lot of other things going on and going in your favor. By the way, your credit score. That's a great element. Okay? Your income might be low, but what if your credit score is high? This is a great thing happening to you right now. So you can parlay that credit score into getting a large personal loan, even if you have low income or unsteady work. Because you know why? Your credit score says a lot about your financial discipline. Okay? Because see, if you have a great credit score and you know how to manage money, the low income situation you find yourself in right now is just maybe a temporary thing. I mean, the good Lord is going to look in your ass and say, you know what? We're gonna help the son. So as long as you keep pushing, as long as you keep doing what you're doing right now, you should be able to go. You should be able to you should be able to actually reach success real fast. So personal credit score is important. You got to really manage your existing expenses. Okay, so lenders actually consider that. Lenders consider your DTI, your CUR. So CUR standing for credit utilization, and your DTI, debt to income ratio. So the lenders are looking at that and seeing, okay, do we have a person here who knows how to manage money? This is important because if we're going to give extra cash to this person and he or she has no idea how to actually manage what he or she already have, this could be problematic. Okay. So you want to really pay attention to what you want. And there are some loans, though. There are some loans that really don't require that high of a FICO score. For example, payday loans, okay? Their approvals are a lot easier. But hey, listen, it really depends on where you want to apply. If you want to apply at a bank or a credit union, the requirements are a little higher. But if you want to apply at a regular alternative lender, such as payday loans, which payday loans is just fantastic. But they're just there for, as the name implies, payday loans. And if you want regular cash, you can ask your dad or anybody else. So the thing I'm trying to say here is that when we talk about large personal loans, well, lenders consider a lot of stuff. Lender considers your current budget, your family situation. For example, your dad might actually co-sign the loan with you. They'll also look at like your personal tax returns, for example. So here are the steps I really want you to pay attention to, okay? So when we talk about large personal loan pre-approval hacks with low income or unsteady work, you always want to seek pre-qualification first. That means what? That means that if you have an account right now with a bank, with a large national bank, you want to go into your dashboard and see if there is a link to a pre-qualification, a loan pre-qualification, or a credit card pre-qualification. Occasionally, they will send this to customers anyway, right? And what they do here is that they try to make sure that, hey, listen, and those are called pre-screened. In other words, the bank has done now some kind of preliminary work and is comfortable with the profile that you have, okay? And so once you seek pre-qualification, you want to compare loan offers, right? Because when you pre-qualify for a loan, you may receive several offers with varying terms. You may want to try with other lenders if you don't get qualified, as you likely won't qualify for a loan if you apply. Okay, and then you want to submit an application. Now it's important. Timing is important here. So when you apply, sometimes people apply for a loan and they tend to forget about the application. The lender tells them, hey, please submit your application so we can process the thing, and they just like abandon. It's like what we see in e-commerce called cart abandonment. And this is something you have to do once you have to apply. Okay, you get pre-qualified, you compare loan offers, you submit your application, and you verify your information. Because as part of the loan application, the lender will need to actually verify that it's you who actually is writing this, and you are the person, you are the beneficiary of your bank account as well. So this is important to really think about. And one thing I also want you to really do also is to verify your information, right? As part of the loan application, you may need to submit documents, okay, that the lender can use to verify your your information. Now, depending on the state you're actually applying from, this might take a few days or a few not a few years, a few days or a few weeks, right? And sometimes they'll let you know anyway where you are at, where your profile is at in the whole investigation thing. And the last thing I want to talk about here into this conversation is actually how to compare loan offers. I mean, you have to be in a situation where you're comparing apple to apples and bears to bears. I don't even know if that metaphor is actually true. But the bottom line here is that you got to really compare loan offers and find the best one. When we talk about loan offers, there are three things I want you to pay attention to: the interest rate they're charging you, the amount they're granting you, and how long they want you to pay that amount. So those are the three elements that you have to pay attention to. And it's really important to have a clear idea about the fact that this person, the person who's a narrator for let's say, I've been doing narration for loan offers for. I mean, we have an entire team, but I know exactly what you currently are facing, because for a lot of years, I personally have tried to compare loan offers. I've been on websites before we even built a team. And the thing here is that you got to really adopt a long-term vision to know exactly what works for you, what doesn't work for you, right? And you have to be in a situation where you can constantly add value. You can constantly ask questions, okay? And asking questions, you can go to certain websites such as NerdWallet, such as Wallet Hub. So they have built actually the process whereby they can actually help you in terms of comparing loan offers. So this is really, really important. I also want to talk about the fact that when we mention comparing loan offers, we're speaking about the future. In other words, are you thinking about having your spouse co-sign the loan? Because see, if you are talking about the future, then you might want to have your spouse, if you're married, come and co-sign the loan, because that way the lender has I would say certainty that you'll be paid. If you were to work, then you'll be paid. You get your money, and then you can use that cash to actually repay whatever loan you actually get from the platform. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you quickly about how to be pre-approved for a large personal loan. And I gave you a few hacks with low income or steady employment. So we had the approach, the pro tips, the review, the overview, the winner, the steps, the decision, and last but not the least, the review. Thanks so much for your attention. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.